Hello YouTube and welcome back to the zone. Now today guys, I know this is sort of like a little bit of a continuation about where I was talking about getting my first copyright strike. And there's some context I need to share with you guys just before we get started. First of all, the angel dude you can see down below, that's intended for my secondary channel, Reality Zone, in which I also talked about my first copyright strike as well. But more on that a little bit later. Now, one of the guys who commented, and I referenced Gibi before in some of my other videos on Reality Zone, but recently he talked through. We got into a little bit of a discussion in the comments about these sort of copyright trolls exist purely to just, well, basically take down any videos that are completely within the realm of fair use. Purely, well, to be honest, through whatever motive, whether it's to remove criticism, spite. I don't know what motives Noah's decisions were, because he doesn't tell us anything whatsoever. And that's a big reason why a lot of people are starting to like open their eyes to stuff like this. And not to mention that YouTube's copyright policies, especially in cases like these between me and Gibi, because we both received copyright strikes because of this. So, and listen guys, I'm just going to say it right now. Again, if Gibi straight up wants to take this video down, he has pretty much every right to. Honestly, I hope it doesn't, because again, this falls into fair use because of, you know, criticism and like that is all well and good and all this. But also, I'll just say this much before we begin. 5 years ago, the mysterious Mr. Enter also released a video tackling a very similar issue on YouTube's copyright school of the which is presented by the Happy Tree Friends of all people. And you know what? 5 years ago, it was a very different place there. But, you know, considering I had to go through the copyright school by YouTube, courtesy of the Happy Tree Friends itself, it's the same exact video that came out 5 years ago that Mr. Enter was talking about. They haven't updated it, changed, or outlined anything new or specific laws since then. So we literally don't know if the rules are the same, or they're going to just slip something that nobody was prepared for and within full effect. Now, with all that being said and done, and I'll probably go over like several YouTubers who have been affected by this as well, so this isn't going to be the first, and I'm going to make sure this video in particular gets not only put onto onto Reality Zone, which is intended for this sort of thing to go out, but also it's going to go out on my main channel and all of my other channels, because the more widespread topics like these are, maybe it will be the day when YouTube, for once, wakes up, realizes what's going on, and maybe they'll do something about it. If not, hell, I'll freaking step up to the plate. I'll grab the bull by the horns and I'll do this myself. But before all that, let's just find out exactly how Gibi himself found himself into this. So, again, not of his own fault. We know exactly who to blame for all this. So, let's get started. Copyright trolls, how YouTube fails its users. In 3, 2, 1, and...
One of my previous Christian weekly update videos was taken down by a copyright troll named Noah, owner of the YouTube channel Leftover Media. A copyright troll is someone who illegally takes down videos that do not violate their copyright, either to monetize content that isn't theirs or to remove criticism of them from the platform.
In this case, YouTuber Christopher Brady is alleged to have filed false DMCA claims, claiming he either owned things he did not, or claiming videos were infringing that were not. That alone is prohibited by the DMCA, which requires the person sending the takedown to affirm that they either own the work or are an agent of the owner, and that the notice is being sent in good faith. That is, that they actually believe is infringement. Someone who thinks a video is fair use but doesn't like what it's saying is not allowed to send a DMCA claim. There you are, says right there, 100% Noah shouldn't have done what he did. And people who send DMCA claims can't pretend that fair use rights don't exist. They have to consider whether the uploader may have been protected by fair use. Now, again, right there, that should be a case closed statement right there, because again, that in Gibi's case, because obviously he's in the US, and well, I don't necessarily know if I'm in the same field as well, because I'd say freedom of speech is different from the US than it is in the UK, but how different can it be? Because I know hundreds of YouTubers who live in the UK or in other parts of the world that have done other subject matter like this before, so I'm not entirely sure if it's that big a deal, I think. But surely not in cases like these where it's completely covered by fair use.
That original video can now be found on BitChute. Famously, YouTube...
What have I done? That feels very, very fitting, doesn't it?
User Mundane Matt used the copyright system to remove any video that criticized him by claiming that using his clips violated his copyright. It does not, because commentary over clips that are being used as an example is what's called a transformation. The purpose of the commentary video is not the same as the original video unless it is transformed and does not violate copyright. Matt lied about taking down the videos, blaming the automated system, but was called out for it on a live stream where he was tricked into showing that he in fact did claim them personally. He is not the only example of this, he is just the most well-known. I sent an email to YouTube creator support about my incident, and they surprisingly responded with a very personalized email. It's clear that they read my email and took time to address my specific situation. However, what they said paints the company in a horrible light. They said that they will remove my copyright strike, but can't put the video back up because they don't mediate copyright claims. This is a complete failing of them as a company.
Yeah, you know what? I reckon if I issued the same thing myself, and maybe it's probably a fault on my own that I didn't, is that I felt as if I probably should have done this as well, because I feel as if the more people that issue that this guy is consistently sending these false claims, it might open YouTube's eyes just a little bit wider. Maybe I should do that. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I think that's something I probably would encourage everyone else. In fact, I probably should do that myself. I'll give it more thought as the video goes on.
They've created a system in which users can file legal claims against one another but can't defend themselves. They give only one side tools. If YouTube can do an action, which is removing a video, due to nothing besides a claim, but refuse to put it back up based on the claim, then they are picking a side by default.
Yeah.
In court, the defendant is assumed innocent. If I accuse you of something, it is assumed that you did nothing wrong. On YouTube, if I accuse you of violating my copyright, it's assumed that you are in the wrong. You are immediately punished for this, not just by the technically neutral action of removing your video until given the chance to counterclaim, but also by being given a copyright strike, which removes your ability to stream, and 3 strikes deletes your channel. This system is flawed in 2 ways. For one, it is antithetical to the Enlightenment ideals of innocent until proven guilty. While YouTube is not an actual court, the idea is born from the axioms that we as Westerners share about the rights humans have by nature of being human. It is immoral to not follow these ideals in the eyes of most of the public, even in non-court scenarios. But it is also a failure in how it negatively impacts the community on YouTube. There is nothing right now stopping you from claiming PewDiePie's most recent million-view upload. Yes, it is technically illegal to do so, but YouTube will not intervene, and unless he bothers to take you to court over it, you will receive no punishment. There was a high-profile case of H3H3, a famous reaction channel, having a multi-year...
Also, when you think about it like that, especially in cases like PewDiePie, which I feel like he's gonna move on to smaller YouTubers, possibly, but if PewDiePie even once, if anybody tried to do that, and PewDiePie made a video explaining what happened, because of PewDiePie's following is so enormous, they would get on his back in fact, actually, I don't know. I think PewDiePie's like fan base is pretty tolerant of that sort of thing. I don't particularly think anybody would really do that, but I don't know. It's interesting actually.
Long court battle with a copyright troll who struck down one of their videos. H3 ended up winning, but it cost them lots of money, although the troll did have to pay their court fees when they won, and it also cost them time and stress. They are a huge channel with a legal team and a large loyal fan base. They are not a smaller channel with only a few 100,000 subs, or a tiny channel like mine with only 18,000.
You say that, Gibi, but I'm actually just going to show you something very, very quickly. Let's see if and I don't know exactly how well this is going to go down, but I want you to take a look at this right now, Gibi. Just let me see if I could zoom on this a little bit. This is probably as best as I can get, I'm afraid. But this is Pope Francis delivering a sermon in Madison Square Garden to 18,000 people. This is a rough like shot of what 18,000 people looks like. Now, Gibi, what I want you to sort of understand if he's watching this, I don't know how likely that's going to be, but I just want you to take a look at this. 18,000 people. Imagine every single one of those is subscribed to your channel. That, in terms of numbers, sort of emphasizes the size of his channel. And that is actually a lot. And I'll tell you what, let's do a comparison. Let's say that's Gibi's channel. This is, let's say this one is mine. This is roughly as let's see. This is roughly about 3,000 people. It's not nearly as big as Gibi's, granted, but it's still a pretty hefty size. A lot of the problems is that you sort of don't quite understand or don't quite realize this, just in terms of just seeing another person as just a number, when it's in reality it's more akin to something like this or the previous image. So that's just an idea, and I don't really agree with calling Gibi's channel small. My channel is, I would say, small by comparison, but again, when you look at it in this sort of light, it's not really that small when you think about it. So let's get back to the action.
There is no one to defend us. There is a law for...
There is nobody to defend us, he says. Not everyone agrees with that, though. And it's just, you've got to know where to look to find the people who are going to defend you. But you know what? Like I said, 18,000 people. That's quite a lot of people on your side, in your court. And it's certainly much bigger than YouTube or Noah technically has.
Protecting us that is not enforced, and it leads to a destructive environment on the platform. In a just world, YouTube would take it upon themselves to determine what is and what is not fair use on their platform to protect their creators, but it is understandable why they do not do this. YouTube is bound by the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which was passed in 1998. YouTube acts as a platform, not a publisher, and I've discussed the difference before. But to put it simply, YouTube does not get in trouble legally for what its users post as long as they do their best to enforce the law. If you upload a copyrighted movie on YouTube and violate the law, it is you who gets in trouble, not YouTube. YouTube only gets in trouble if the copyright owner sends a legal notice to them and they do not remove the offending video. For this reason, YouTube always sides with the person claiming they own the copyright over the material and lets the truth come out in court, because if YouTube were the arbiters of fair use, and they decided quote-unquote wrong, then the copyright holder would be able to sue YouTube, and YouTube would have to go to court. And then if they lost, they would be in trouble and lose money.
And when you look at it in that light, it's pretty easy to see why Noah would take this approach, because he knows that he's exploiting the system to his advantage, which it's a pretty weasel. It's a way of weaseling out of this. But then again, I say weaseling out of this, but weaseling out of what? Again, we have absolutely no idea why Noah wanted these videos taken down. Does he say about fair use or what? He doesn't give any excuse whatever. In fact, actually, I'll tell you what. and they're gonna, and I think, because I saw the excuse, I saw the reason. Well, the only response Noah did give on his Twitter when he tried to when Gibi tried to email him, and I hope they mention that like later on, because it'll give you just a little bit of an insight into what exactly we're dealing with.
The thing is that this is exactly what YouTube should do. YouTube is owned by Alphabet, one of the biggest companies in the world. Not having lawyers on call to go over fair use cases and make best judgment decisions is a slap in the face to small creators. Mm-hmm. The system should work in a way that, if one person believes another has violated their copyright, they can claim a video. The defendant can then oblige and take down the video, or fight back. YouTube would then have a lawyer look over the situation and write a letter to whichever party they deem incorrect. If the copyright holder is wrong, then YouTube could say, "This is not infringing on your copyright, we will not take it down. If you disagree, see us in court." If they side with the claimant, they would send a letter to the defendant saying, "This violates copyright, remove it from our platform in X number of days, or we will remove it and you will be given a strike. If you disagree, see you in court." But they can't do that, because legally they have to oblige by the laws that were set in 1998. I do not blame YouTube for this. I do, however, strongly blame YouTube for not leading the charge to change this law. 1998 was a different time for the internet.
I was about to say that I was born in '98 when this law was passed. But then again, and this is something YouTube also needs to wake up to, and I agree with that entirely, is that it's not 1998 anymore. And you don't really need to say anymore. It's a very, very, very different world. I certainly wouldn't want to call it Planet Earth. It's something different than that.
People were scared that the music and movie industries would be killed because of piracies, and so drastic laws were put in place to prevent that from happening. It turns out that people don't pirate music if you give them Spotify. YouTube should be lobbying to change these 22-year-old laws, both because it's kind of important to them as a video platform to keep these kinds of laws up to date, and because it's actively hurting their creators. I don't really care about my single video as much as I care about the fact that the entirety of YouTube is built on a rickety structure where the more money, time, and influence you have, the more you can get away with breaking the law.
Again, I don't necessarily agree with that entirely, because if you do something heinous, again, on the internet or otherwise, you'll be called out irregardless. You know, it will come out in one way or another. It doesn't. Well, okay. Let me try to explain better about what I meant. Is that if you did something like that, let's say if somebody mega rich punched somebody in the arm, in the real world, and even if there was no evidence, and again, if this was local, not on the internet, and that the case would just like. Unless, of course, there was any evidence whatsoever, or there was anything to prove this actually happened, then no action could be taken. Unfortunately, in the cases of the internet, because it is social media, is that the news could reach... It could be sent from here in Newcastle 1 minute, and it could reach as far out as Singapore or Kuala Lumpur in a matter of seconds. People will be able to see exactly... Well, hear your side of the story, and this will raise a lot of like eyebrows, basically, and people will just be able to say, "Hey, why would he do that? Did that really happen?" And then, if you bring up more and more of this sort of behavior, you know, it's things that will stack against him, and then again, it's his word against yours, and I think that's how that saying goes. What I'm trying to say is that you can't get away with that sort of stuff forever, because there are ways, you know, of getting help. There always are. Or people will just take it upon themselves and do that sort of approach anyway, but there you are.
I get that that's how the unfair real world works most of the time, but this website is entirely controlled by one entity who gets to set the rules, and the fact that they don't care about their own users is extremely disheartening and shameful. This is actually the second time I've received a copyright strike on my channel.
Really?
The first was right when I was starting out. I use a program called Music Maker Jam to make my background music. That's where the music you are hearing now comes from. It's just some pre-recorded sounds that you can mix and loop, and it's a very basic program that I use because I have no musical talent. Well, I made a song and then used it as the background track in a lot of my videos. Another YouTuber who made music on their channel uploaded an album that they made with Music Maker Jam. I have no idea why they'd use such a basic program if they wanted to be a real musician, but that's beside the point. They arranged the pre-recorded noises into a song that vaguely resembled mine, and their multi-channel network's algorithm flagged my videos as violating their copyright, even though I had been using the music for over a year before they uploaded their version. I contacted Music Maker Jam about copyright stuff, and they said that users could monetize their creations made in the program, but could not copyright them because the sounds were owned by Music Maker Jam. I sent this information, along with the fact that my video came out first, to the multi-channel network with a kindly worded email, and they removed their claim. They did not have to do this, but they did because they realized that I was correct and they were professional. When I sent a kindly worded email to Noah of Leftover Media about his false copyright strike, this was his response.
And I've said this before, but it's that sort of response makes it very, very, very difficult to believe that these sort of copyright strikes are anything to be taken seriously, especially against troll DMCA claims like these. Also, one thing I need to mention is that you post this information, and again, legalities and what's settled in court, guilty or innocent, doesn't really mean too much with an angry mob who can see this evidence anyway. Also, let's be real here, ladies and gentlemen. If Noah genuinely wanted to disprove that this was written by him, he would have gotten in touch with Gibi a lot sooner. Because this just absolutely confirms this is absolutely what many people suspected. Now, actually, I'll tell you what I did is that I actually tried to send an email of my own to Noah as well to explain my side as well. I didn't get a single response. I have had absolutely incommunicado from Noah. I don't know whether or not it's because he's got anything better to do at this point. Probably invite Chris to be on his channel again. I don't think. But just... yeah. So, why, Noah? Why have you not got back in touch with me then? Are you afraid that if I be civil and I present myself accordingly and, I present facts and I be professional as I can, is he afraid that, he's going to catch on that other people are not happy that someone is abusing the system and are doing this for literally, again, no reason? Once again, we have no reason, we have no explanation as to why Noah would want to just take these videos down left, right, and center.
It's true that YouTube does have a system in place against people who falsely copyright a lot of material, but only if they're noticed and it's a pattern of behavior. If you go and claim a bunch of random stuff, they'll notice and probably prevent you from doing so anymore. But Noah taking down 2 videos, that's not enough for YouTube.
Holy oh, no. Yo, wait a minute. That's Christ almighty. You would have thought I could have picked a better thumbnail for that, but no. That video was literally shot like on the spot right there, and few things. One, I desperately need a shave in the next few days. Second, you could just see look at that. Just look at the way I've aged, I think, worse in the last 2 weeks. From when did I put this? May 9th. Only about what is it now? May 16th or something like that? May 16th. So about a whole week after I put that video out, and Gibi put a video out in the last hour about this. Because again, he commented on that very specific video. But you know what? I'm going to actually, again, bring this up for a very, very specific reason. This apparently from Gibi's words, or I don't know whether this is technically true or not, that apparently this was the second video in a row in which Noah took down a video in which I talked about the video in question. But it just gave me a very strange idea. If a whole bunch of people did videos in which they talked about, they did the whole fair use thing, again, they went through all the practices and all this when taking a look at the video in question, that got me and Gibi into trouble about copyright strikes and all that. But if people kept reporting this to YouTube, then they're gonna have to, the more people report in about these DMCA claims that are completely false and malignant, then eventually YouTube are going to realize sooner or later that this has become a very routine pattern of events. So I'm actually glad that Gibi brought that up, because again, he didn't have to do that, but I appreciate him all the same. You know, that's wow.
To detect him doing any wrongdoing. Too Long didn't watch. The way YouTube handles copyright is unacceptable. It's not entirely their fault because they have to obey outdated laws, but they really should try harder to change the laws and have better communication with their users. I'm trying to contact larger creators to discuss this issue because community pressure is really all there is, and while I doubt that my issue will be resolved, I hope other people will avoid this problem in the future. Anyway, here's Chris Chan.
You think I'm weak? You think I'm not tough? This is what happens when I'm intercepted. This is what will happen when I'm
Copyright claimed
by a troll. Hi, hello.
Innocent YouTube user.
Hello?
What's the matter? You don't know me?
No, should I?
It's me.
A copyright troll?
Oh. What the hell do you want, you son of a bitch?
Oh, I just came by to tell you how much of a son of a bitch, lazy, yes, bigoted, treacherous rat you are. Oh, and how about that time I
Illegally took down your video.
You son of a bitch!
Is Chris literally fighting himself? Yes, he is.
Come on, get up, you son of a bitch.
Wait, hang on, I actually don't understand. Is this meant to be the troll telling me to get up, or is this meant to be the other way around? It's a little bit hard to tell because, you know, method acting and all that.
This is for
Abusing YouTube's broken system to remove criticism, you pansy.
Watch your back, trolls.
This video does not promote violence, only mocking indignation.
Yeah, fair enough. Don't worry, Gibi, I think we caught the end of that. Okay, guys, that was YouTube failing its users, and like I said, listen, it doesn't really... Well, yes, it did tell us exactly what the situation was, and not only does this pretty much highlight a very, very big problem that YouTube has had for literally years, but another big problem I need to bring up is that, and I'll tell you what, I'll do a series of videos in which I go over various YouTubers who've encountered the problem and have had to not so much fill in the cracks as to why these problems are happening, but to literally cast a light on the cracks. And I call them cracks. These are like 1 meter deep potholes that anyone else could see is going to be a problem and should pretty much be dealt with. Because again, where exactly does this all end? I don't really know how far this will go or when this will end. So I'm literally just gonna have to wait and see until we find out more information in the future. But like I said, this isn't going to be a problem really long term because, again, this entire situation was just really one-sided. And again, I'm not that bothered or that upset about how things planned out, but then again, because again, like I said, anyone could have worked out that this sort of thing was it was just 100% an act from a copyright troll. And again, now that people know fine well who's done this, what the channel is, again, I'll leave the channel in the description down below. Maybe you would like to have words with Noah yourself. I honestly don't care. You can do whatever you like. Just, again, don't harass him or anything like that. Just follow Gibi's example. Be servile, be civil. Just, don't do anything stupid. Don't try and feed into Noah's ego. Because again, don't try and praise him either for what he's trying to do. Because again, where's this all gonna end? Your guess is probably as good as mine. I've talked about him before in the other video that Gibi showed a couple of minutes ago. But again, take with that what you will, and I hope to see all of you guys again in the next video. I'll also leave the original link to Gibi's video in the description down below as well. Just, to take care, ladies and gentlemen. I just,